सारी संगत को मेरी तरफ से जय गुरु जी। लॉस एंजलिस में और बाकी दुनिया भर में जो भी ये सत्संग सुन रहे हैं, वी आर ऑल ब्लेस्ड टू बी कनेक्टेड विद गुरु जी, एंड आई फील एक्सट्रीमली प्रिविलेज्ड दैट आई हैव बीन ऑनर्ड and blessed to narrate my satsang today, and may Guruji bless each one of us. गुरुजी का मुझे हुक्म था कि मुझको अपना सत्संग 1000 बार सुनाना है, और every time that I get an opportunity to narrate my satsang, I feel another occasion of blessing and fulfillment of the orders of Guruji that he had directly conveyed to me. Every satsang that I will share today would be either it has physically happened to me, or I was a physical eyewitness to that satsang. So none of those satsangs will be what I have heard from a third party. So with this little introduction, let me tell you how I initially got connected with the Guruji. I will speak in English and Hindi because the Sangat is mostly in America, and they all are easier for them to connect with both the languages. In 1995, I got hepatitis B. Now, hepatitis B is a disease which does not have a real cure even today. Yes, there are medicines, injections which you take in advance for the prevention of getting hepatitis B, but bulk of the world is still not fully covered with those preventive cures. So hepatitis B, जब मुझे हुआ तो the attack was very bad. My bilirubin count had gone up to 22, which is very high. Beyond 12, it is considered dangerous to life. And in fact, being a military man, I was under care of R&R hospital in Delhi, and that's the best care that you can get. And they told me that they put me on DI list. DI list is called dangerously ill. Dangerously ill is the highest level of illness, in the sense that if you, you could sort of go away any time. That was the physical status. And the doctors in R&R told me that since we do not have immediate cure, and except that you have to have continuous rest and some restrictions on food, they told me that if you wish, you could try some alternate therapies, and you won't believe it. Since the bilirubin count was just not coming down, I started a variety of alternate therapies that included color therapy, magnetotherapy, Ayurveda, homeopathy. I went to a lot of people who told me various other little things to do, but nothing was changing. And there was a doctor, senior officer's wife, who had been connected with Guruji in Jalandhar. They lived in model town, and we all know Guruji's mandir is there in Jalandhar. So she told me that एक गुरुजी हैं हमारे, वो पहली बार अब दिल्ली में आए हैं. उन्होंने पहली बार अपना आश्रम बनाया है. सिर्फ 4-5 दिन हुए, 1 हफ्ता हुआ है उनको आए को. अगर आप ठीक समझो तो मैं आपको गुरुजी के पास ले जाती हूँ, और गुरुजी is somebody who will, if he blesses you, you will be cured. So I instantly told her that, yeah, I would love to go. And that evening she came in her own car, and she said, okay, let's go. And I accompanied her to Guruji's ashram. It was in Greater Kailash. It was in a basement in somebody's house. Moment I reached there, doctors, mind you, had told me that under these circumstances, you are not to leave your room. Ideally, you shouldn't leave your bed. That is the kind of rest your body needs, because your liver is badly damaged. But I had traveled this 17-18 kilometers to Greater Kailash. And when I walked down those 5-6 steps into the basement, I saw Guruji sitting in front. Of course, there was Sangat. The numbers those days were not very large. And I looked at Guruji. It took me about 45 seconds to a minute to physically walk that distance because there were other people in front of me. I touched Guruji's feet, and Guruji instantly put his hand on my shoulder and then on my head and said, Chopra, tenu main theek kar deta, you are cured, tera kalyan ho gaya. I was very, very impressed, if I may use that word. I felt extremely blessed that first time I have walked into Guruji's ashram. I have first time made contact with him, total time of contact less than a minute. And Guruji has blessed me. He asked me to sit down. And since I could not sit for extended periods, I chose a place next to the wall so that I could rest my back on it. And I quietly sat there. A few minutes later, 5-7 minutes later, Guruji started making Amrit. How the Amrit used to be made was that the Sevadars would bring glasses of, steel tumblers of water. And Guruji would hold a chandan ki mala hoti thi unke haath mein. Usko mala ko pani ke andar stir karte the, or then he would say some mantra slowly but we could hear that he's narrating some mantra, and then he would give the Amrit to the Sangat who was sitting. In this particular day, the first Amrit glass was given to me. I drank it. Then he gave to somebody else, and again he gave it to me, and so forth. Finally, 4 glasses, then thereafter 4 more, total of 8 glasses of Amrit he made me have. And mind you, it is not easy to drink, nearly 250 ml of water that goes into that tumbler. But I never thought twice. My mind was clear. I was clearly focused, and I was very clear in my mind that this is my cure. So I had nearly 2 liters of total water. Mind you, I did not have to go, to the washroom, despite so much of water. After half an hour or so, those days the langar used to start around 9 o'clock. The numbers used to be not so large. You would get 1-to-1 thali. Not the 4 people. Later on, we started having 4 people sharing a thali, but those days it was still a single thali. So I was given 1 thali of langar, and then the doctor sitting next to me said that it's my job as a doctor to advise you that this food is for hepatitis is not medically clear, but you will have to take your own call. So I told her, yes, ma'am, I have taken my call, and I'm going to have that langar. She left it to me. I ate that langar. When I was on the last chapati, we all get 2 chapatis in that langar. When I was on the last chapati, Guruji came and stood next to me. He had chapatis in his hand, and he gave me 1 more chapati. Ebi khala. So I ate that 3rd chapati, and once I finished the langar, Guruji said, "Hun tu ja, Chopra, hun tu parson aayi. Fauji aadmi hai, you're a military man, you would, want to get yourself checked. My advice is you get your test done tomorrow. By day after, when the result comes, thereafter you come and meet me." So I went back next morning. I gave my blood for the blood test, and 24 hours later, the results came. Nowadays, of course, you can get results much faster. But next morning, when the result came, my bilirubin count had shot down, considerably come down. I was absolutely floored. I was so, impressed. And then that evening, the 3rd day evening, I and my wife, we went this time on our own. We went to the Guruji's ashram, and then when we walked down those stairs, Guruji said, "Suman auntie aa gayi hai, mainu pata hai, why didn't you come that day? But I will open your file now." So what he meant by opening file is mainly for those who are new in the Sangat, is that he will open your history, tell you about things that not many outsiders would normally know. So he said 10-12 things about her. Each and everything was the kind of thing that no outsider should normally know. But everything he said was absolutely correct. And, I now knew that he is not just an ordinary guru. He's he's some kind of a superpower in him. And so he asked me, he says, how was your blood test result? And I told Guruji, it has absolutely come down very sharply. And Guruji said, "Hun to agge dekhi ki hunda hai, tu bilkul theek kar dena hun tenu." Anyway, so thereafter, my bilirubin count kept coming down, and I kept coming to Guruji every now and then. Guruji was very fond of the Faujis. And later on, I'll tell you why he was fond of the Faujis. One day after nearly 3 weeks, my bilirubin count had come very close to becoming normal. So I told Guruji, I said, Guruji asked me, next test kad karana hai? Maine kaha, Guruji, kal test hai. So he said, your bilirubin count will be 3 this time. So I said, "Nee, Guruji, jinni tezi now it is coming down. It should be, below 1, which is absolutely normal." He said, "Koi gal nahi, you go and get your test done." You won't believe it. I got the test done, and the count was actually 3. I was again sort of absolutely floored that for somebody, because the rate at which the bilirubin count was coming down earlier was so steep. But now, this time, the count came down very little. And it came to exactly the figure that Guruji had said, how he had sort of imagined, how he had predicted. That's obviously the power that Guruji could see through. Okay, I will stop this part of the satsang because subsequently I became absolutely all right. And another satsang was going on parallelly at the same time when I was going through my satsang that was related to one Major General from the Indian Army, serving officer. I was a serving group captain that time. That's a colonel level officer. And this Major General was had gone for his annual medical to R&R, and they found that he had a heart anomaly, and then they further tests and they found that the heart was blocked. It was 100% blockage, which means that those 3 arteries were at least 50% blocked each. That's what they term, I believe, as 100%. So he was then asked to go and get his test done in Escorts, which was a new hospital, and they used to do bypass surgeries. The Escort hospital also confirmed that he had blockage and that there was a need for bypass surgery, and he was given an appointment 1 week later to do the surgery. So there is a system, the government used to be that time, that the government paid some money, part of the total expenditure for doing a bypass surgery. So he took that money in advance and gave it to the hospital, based on which they gave the appointment. Now, still they had 1 week. The bypass used to be a very serious thing those days. Nowadays, of course, they put stents through various other means, and things are becoming a commonplace. But those days it was a big thing, and the whole family got a little worried, and all the family members, especially the children who were out stationed, they all came to Noida, where the general was staying. And every day the discussion was about, I hope everything goes well and the operation is good. And it is that time somebody mentioned to the general that एक गुरुजी आए हैं ग्रेटर कैलाश में, वो आजकल हैं, वो हील कर देते हैं लोगों को, उनकी ब्लेसिंग में बहुत ताकत है. So this is what he was told. He was a Major General. He said, wow, what you guys are talking, it's a scientific test done and I have got a blockage, and how can some guru like that cure me? Rightly the way any normal person tends to think. So he just ignored it. Another day passed. Then again somebody said, yeah, Baba, there is no appointment there. You just go there, and if it works, it works. It doesn't work, in any case, you have an appointment fixed. So under these circumstances, he, along with his family members, came to Guruji. That is, the time which I had also, come to Guruji for the first time. So Guruji said, okay. So he asked the Major General to go to his chamber. He got these pan ka pattas put on his chest. Guruji read some mantra. That's what the Major General told us. And after that, about 20 minutes, he was lying in Guruji's chamber with pan ka patta on his chest. And after that, he asked him to come out. And then he told him that, well, as far as I'm concerned, you have no blockage now. That means you have zero blockage. So General Saab was very confused, and rightly so, that how come this has happened. And so Guruji said, no, I can understand. You're an educated guy. You're a military man. You're a senior officer. You must go get yourself tested. And if your blockage is still there, in any case, you have an operation date fixed. So the general next day goes to Escorts Hospital and tells them that I want to get one more test done. So the Escort people said that these tests are very expensive. It will cost you 10,000, some figure like that. And we don't understand because you have already been tested by R&R and now you have also been tested by us. And why should you get such a test done at all? But he insisted. The test was done and you won't believe it. He had zero blockage. So the escorts doctor, Dr. Trehan was the person who was the head of the escorts that time. And he was very, impressed. And when he heard this whole story and that your blockage is gone, they didn't take the money. It was 10,000 rupees for the test. They said, this is a miracle. They wanted to come and meet Guruji. So the doctors and Dr. Trehan and some other doctors, they all came to Guruji. I met Dr. Trehan a couple of times with Guruji thereafter. And so thereafter, the money and all that he had taken as advance from the government was returned, and he moved on in life. The General Saab was absolutely normal. Now, I have told you these are two typical medical related cures, one of my own self, one of a general whom I happen to, watch as a parallel satsang going on with me. But I asked Guruji later on, because I used to go often to Guruji whenever, not as often as many others were, because I was often posted to far off places. And whenever I used to come to Delhi, I would go to Guruji, and at least 2-3 times I would go to the mandir. And Guruji used to be sort of fond of Fauji's. Whenever I used to go, he used to make me sit just next to him, very close by, within 3-4 feet of him. And I used to get a chance to interact with him, invariably every time. So I must tell you that Guruji spoke very little, but whenever he spoke, he, in very few words, conveyed a lot of things. So I asked Guruji once, I said, Guruji, I have noticed in my various visits that you are very fond of Fauji's and you also have a great respect for doctors. So then Guruji explained, and everybody else was listening to this. And Guruji said, for me to cure anybody, the first and the main starting point is that the person should be pure from heart and must have faith and get connected properly for him to take energy. So he said, I know all you Fauji's are absolutely, disciplined, clear-hearted, sincere, and therefore Fauji's get cured faster from me. He gave me my own example. He says, I can tell you about you. The day you walked in, he says, Gurus can have an X-ray vision, means their eyes and brain can see through a person. He says, when you walked in, I could see through you, and I knew that you were absolutely ready and clear in your mind to take the energy that I'm going to pump into you. And that is why instantly, within first 1 minute of contact with you, I have blessed you and cured you. He gave me an analogy related to the Air Force. He said, you people use a radar. He says, Guru has got a radar. Now, Guru is trying to pump energy to people, but the recipient must have his radar antenna also pointing towards Guru's antenna for him or her to take that energy. And I thought that was an excellent analogy. He says, Guru is transmitting energy to a large number of people, but there are not very many people whose antennas are focused and aligned. So I thought it is important for Sangat to know this aspect, that whether Guruji is here in physical form or you have got you have got pictures, swarups of Guruji all over your house or wherever, or you go to a mandir just listening bhajans. There is an energy that Guru is trying to give. And if our antenna is not focused to receive that energy, then that's not good enough. And that energy is coming to us through langar, through chai prasad, pani prasad, and various other forms. So that energy we must try to take. So I leave it at that. Now let me tell you some more satsangs related to other facets of Guruji other than just medical cure, which I have already narrated. In November 95, there was another officer. He was commanding the VIP squadron, and he was also connected with Guruji by then. And he one day rang me up. He says, I have a training flight to go to Adampur. If you're keen, then you come and let's travel together. And we will do our training flight. Thereafter, take a short break, go to Guruji, seek his blessings. Guruji that time was in Jalandhar. And we'll come back. I said, perfect, great idea. You have a training flight. I will accompany you as a passenger. So early in the morning, it was decided at 8 o'clock. The previous day, we had rung up the Guruji's ashram, spoken to some sevadar to find out if Guruji is going to be there. And they said, yes, Guruji is here. And they had apparently conveyed to Guruji also that these people are going to come. So next morning, we went to the aircraft at 8 o'clock. The visibility dropped. It was winter. I think it was end November. So now we were waiting for getting clearance, and the visibility wouldn't clear. And finally, it cleared around 12:30. By the time we took off and reached Adampur, it was close to 1:30. By the time we drove, nearly at 3:45 is when we reached Guruji's ashram that day. The whole day was spent waiting in the aircraft to get the flight clearance. And when we reached Guruji's mandir, in Jalandhar, the mandir door used to be kept open. Inside, there were some sangat, only 4 or 5 of them who were sitting. The hall was empty. Guruji was in his chamber. He was resting. And we went and sat down and we listened to bhajan. Somebody served us chai prasad. And then a short while later, within 15-20 minutes, that is around 4 o'clock, Guruji came out of his chamber. He saw both of us. And he said, oh, aa gaye ho, badi der kar thi, tusi ta swere aana siga. And we said, ha, Guruji, there was a problem. He said, no, you don't have to tell me. I know what was your problem. And anyway, good. Now you sit and listen to bhajans. Guruji also came, sat down. The numbers were not very large. We were just 7-8 people. There was some light conversation with Guruji. And around 4:45, because the base commander in Adampur had told us that the last takeoff for us is 6 o'clock because there is no night operations for that day. And therefore, if you cannot take off by 6 o'clock, then you will have to take off only next morning. We said, fair enough. And so around 4:45, I started looking at my watch, thinking that 5 o'clock we have to leave Guruji's ashram, then only we can take off at 6. But Guruji saw me looking at my watch, and Guruji said, Chopra, pehla inni late aandiyo, you can't be looking at your watch. I said, no, Guruji, there is no problem. But he understood that obviously there is some kind of urgency these guys have got. But Guruji said, no, you just carry on. So we carried on. And then it was 6, 7, and time was passing. And we reconciled to the fact that we can't go back tonight. We will go back tomorrow. And then around 8 o'clock, Guruji gave a signal to one of the sevadar. And next thing we find that 4 boxes of laddus and 2 saris are in Guruji's hand. And he gives 2 boxes to both of us, and gives one sari for our wives and he says, "Hun tusi chalo." Now we told Guruji, now we are going to take off only tomorrow. Hunta si raat 12-1 tak to ethe baithna hai. We want your blessings. Guruji said, nahi, hun tusi jao. So now Guruji's order, you can't say no, and so we touched his feet and we moved back to Adampur. And you won't believe it, we reached Adampur around 9 o'clock, and when we reached the gate, we had a message from the base commander to say that some special commitment has come, night flying has been cleared, and if you wish, you can take off. So we went to the aircraft, we took off around 10, and by 11, we were in Delhi. By 11:15, we were at our homes. So see, now Guruji is insisting that we must go at 8 o'clock. He obviously knew, he had coordinated, he had created a circumstance that the night operations in Adampur will be cleared, and that we will be able to sort of go. See, so there is another aspect of Guruji which I have just explained to you, power of a Guru. Large number of VIPs used to come. We all know, all the Sangat knows that the presidents, the prime ministers, chief ministers, and many other senior government officials used to come. Many of them are connected with Guruji forever. So whenever some VIP used to come, and if I was present, many times Guruji asked me to sit with the VIP to interact with him. And interact meaning I would normally narrate my satsang and do some conversation to clear any doubts if the individual had. I had the occasion to meet T.N. Session, who was standing in one corner. I also went and stood next to him because Guruji said, "Oh, T.N. Session is standing there, you go and stand next to him and narrate him your story." So I went. T.N. Session was looking in front. I was also looking in front, but we were talking to each other side by side, and I told him my story. He had some questions, some kind of doubts, but I tried to explain to him this logic of the radar analogy that I just mentioned. Similarly, I met Mayawati, Bhajan Lal, I met VP Singh. In case of Mayawati, Guruji told me, "Inanu mere chamber chila jao, inanal gappa maro." So I took Mayawati to his chamber, and Mayawati, there was just a bed and नीचे एक छोटा सा carpet type, chatai type था. And I sat down, and Mayawati said, "No, I can't sit down on the ground because of my legs or whatever." So we arranged one little mura type of a thing for her to sit, and she sat, and she said, "Oh, why has he asked you to speak to me?" I said, "I don't know. It's an order that I must speak to you, and I'm going to speak. He's told you to listen. If you wish to listen, you please listen. If you do not wish to listen, that's your problem. But I will narrate." So like that, there were different people who had different, ideas, because many of them, as Guruji would say, came not so much for blessings as much as to test ki yahan pe ho kya raha hai, and what is Guruji all about, and sort of that kind of a thing was there. There were many industrialists who used to come. I remember somebody who had the sugar, very high sugar, going up to as much as 400. And Guruji would cure them by asking to bring jalebi, a kg of jalebi, and ask them to start eating jalebi. And you won't believe it, as they were eating jalebi, the sugar count was coming down. So this is the kind of course, this part of jalebi part is known to practically the whole of Sangat, because this happened too often with Guruji. Many people think that their guru bas unpad hote hain, they are not educated, they are generally, some even think that they are con men, things like that. But I must tell you about Guruji's knowledge. Once one lady with 3 daughters came from Rajasthan side. They were some princely family. And when they came, Guruji apparently knew them from earlier. And Guruji said, "Tusi mere chamber che jao," and he told me that you go with them and inana gappa maro. So I went there and I started narrating my satsang. But before I had really spoken much, Guruji himself walked into the chamber, and thereafter I shut up, and then Guruji started asking. She asked about the children, say, he asked one of the girls that what have you done? She says, I have just finished the exam of Eco Honors final years. So he said, fantastic. He says, how have you done? She says, I don't know. Result only will tell. He says, no, main honi tera result kar dinna. He says, okay, I will ask you 3 questions of Eco Honors syllabus for second year. That is the year which has already gone by and you have otherwise cleared. And if you can answer me those questions, then I know that you have done all right. Guruji asked her 3 questions from previous year's syllabus. He asked such questions that none of those 3 she could answer. So now the point I'm trying to make is that firstly, Econ is not a common subject. It is not mathematics or English where it's easier for anybody to visualize what could be the previous year's course. But to get the exact questions of a particular course, I think only you have to be a superb man to be able to do that. And Guruji did that and gave her the correct answers for those. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. So obviously, it is... the gurus, our Guruji had a fair amount of knowledge on many, many counts, and therefore, he did have the kind of superpowers that come with tapasya or meditation or whatever he had done. One day, in the afternoon, my wife, when she was sleeping, she got a dream that Guruji is wearing a t-shirt and trousers and sneakers. So she narrated this story to me at around 4 o'clock when she just got up from her sleep, and she said, I saw Guruji in half shirt with, and wearing sneakers. I said, no, I can't believe it. Because we had never seen Guruji and that we had been connected with Guruji for quite some time. So I said, come, let's go to Guruji today. So we went to Empire State. He used to be there those days. And we went a little early, before 5. We reached Guruji's ashram. The door was closed. There was one more lady who was waiting outside, sitting on the stairs. We also went and sat down on the stairs with her. And all of a sudden at 5, Guruji opened the door. And as he opened the door of the ashram, he was standing in front. He was wearing the half shirt. He was wearing the trousers. He was wearing sneakers. My God, I said. And the first time that we were seeing Guruji wear, such a dress. Now, I told Guruji that this is what my wife has dreamt. And he says, of course, I wear half shirts. I go... wear all kinds of dresses. So he went, there was a sideboard, the largest sideboard. Guruji jumped and sat on it. Oh, chonkdi marke baith gaye. And he held me and my wife with his 2 arms and held us like that. And for next few minutes, 3-4 minutes, he chatted with us and generally inquired about the family, etc. So I'm just saying how Guruji had, this... he had many facets of himself. Now, I have already explained to you the aspect about transfer of energy, how, he thought that the radar must be aligned and that's the only way to transfer energy. And that the starting point is faith. But there were some other means of transfer of energy for him. Often when we used to go there, he would have told somebody to press his feet, to press his legs, press his shoulders, press his arms. I had the blessings of having to do that about 3 times in my life. And of course, there were many people who were asked much, much more times than me to press the feet and legs. And there were a bulk of the people who were never asked to press the feet and legs. And my wife and my daughters who used to accompany me, they were very envious that he's asked you to press and never has asked us to press. So one day I told this to Guruji. I said, my wife and children are very envious that you have asked me and so many others to press your feet or legs or shoulders, but never asked any of them. So he explained, and this is important for Sangat to know, that he said that I ask those people to press me, those who need energy from it. He says, most of the people do not need energy. They are getting the kind of energy from the bhajans to various other means, the langar, etc. But there are some people who need my energy much more. I will give you an example. Mr. Arun Shori was a minister later on. He was asked to press Guruji's feet one hell of a lot of time. I mean, I have seen him dozens of time pressing Guruji's feet. Now, obviously, he and the family needed Guruji's blessings much more than us for whatever personal ailments, etc. they may be having. So he said that when they are pressing, he said, firstly, he explained that every time he is transferring energy, he is losing energy, he's getting fatigued, because he says energy is in physical form, which is going from one to the other. It's like water flowing from a higher tank to a lower tank. So the higher tank obviously is getting emptied because the lower tank has to be filled up. So something like that he explained, that the pressing of legs, etc. is meant to transfer energy more quickly to the person who needs it. So when I explained this to my wife and children who were not sitting too far off but could not hear, I had to explain to them. And then they were convinced that, okay, there is some sense in what Guruji is saying. Often Guruji used to have late nights with handful of people. I was blessed to have attended such late nights many times. As I told you, my total visits to Guruji were so much lesser than many other people, mainly because I used to be posted in far off places. I was in Bangalore, I was in Assam, I was posted for 4.5 years abroad. So it was often that I didn't even come to Delhi for six months. So, on a large number of occasions when I came, Guruji had an extended late night, and he used to keep just handful of people. I wouldn't say handful, maybe about 20 people who used to be told to stay on. And this will carry on. And that time, Guruji will be a little more open to speak. He will be sort of speaking. There will be some more food round will come, some more parathas will be made, some sweets will be arranged. And I have twice seen Guruji getting from nowhere a huge laddu. I don't know how to explain it. It used to just come in his hand. Like magic, like we have heard of Sai Baba getting vibhuti in his hand. I have seen on 2 occasions he getting a huge laddu in his hand, and thereafter, he's distributing it to everybody, and sort of never-ending, prasad out of that laddu. So these late night sessions also meant somebody is asked to sing, somebody would even dance, or somebody will narrate some story. That kind of a session used to go on. It could carry on till 1, 2, whatever time. So I thought I'll just mention that in Guruji's time, such things also happened. Guruji was very conscious that especially the ladies who have to go back home alone, they might have to go through roads which are not so well lit. Even in those days in Empire State, there was no metro. There was this road going from Mehrauli to Gurgaon was poorly lit. It was not as wide as it is today. So anybody going to Gurgaon from Empire State, he made sure the lady is not going alone. There is some car escorting her till she reaches lit up areas, etc. So one day there was a lady called Deepika, Guruji's Bhagat. She came to take permission at around 10 o'clock from Guruji, and Guruji had never stopped her from going whenever she sought permission, because he knew that she comes alone. But that day, Guruji, when she touched the feet, Guruji said, "Nahi, haje nahi jana." Bajaye the. Oh, Chopra baitha, original gallan tha. Means go and sit next to Chopra and speak to him. Now, I did not know this lady. This lady didn't know me, so she came and spoke. But obviously, she was smarter between the two, and she took the initiative and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I am so and so." And that he says, "Kahan ke rehne wale ho?" And मैंने कहा ऐसे मैं कपूरथला का रहने वाला हूँ. And she says, "Oh, कपूरथला में तो मेरी एक cousin है." मैंने कहा अच्छा. तो मैंने कहा Kapurthala is a small town. If you tell me the name, maybe there'll be some connection. And then she tells me a name, and guess what? That name was of my own mother. That means she was the first cousin of my mother. I had never met her. She had never met me. We have never heard about each other. And but she was the first cousin of my mother. How Guruji connected us. Now I'll give you a backflash. In 1966, when I was in class 6, I and my mother had gone for a holiday to Calcutta. And in Calcutta, I was a little boy. My mother used to interact with with her friends and relatives there. I used to quietly sit in one corner and listen to some of their conversations. I was also by nature a little shy. And there I had heard one name of a lady who was not present there physically, whose name was Gogo. And that Gogo, they used to speak very good things about that girl Gogo. And now coming back to this moment, this lady called Deepika, who was sitting next to me, was that Gogo whom I had heard, whose name I had heard 30 years earlier. In a very, very positive sense, I had heard her name. And that lady was now sitting next to me. And how Guruji, for the first time, told Deepika, don't go. How Guruji decided that she must sit next to me. How she was to connect us. And sort of, we became a family thereafter. I was posted at far-off places. Deepika was like mother to my children. That is the kind of connection Guruji got us. So I've shown you, explained to you another, facet of Guruji. Guruji had, so I've been asked to speak for 1 hour, so I have got a little more time. One elderly lady in Greater Kailash from the neighborhood used to come to Guruji. Once she came, she was around 85 years old. She had some knee problems. She came, touched Guruji's feet and sat down next to Guruji and said, Guruji, mere yahan godya ch bahut dard hai, means I'm having serious pain in my knees and I want you to cure me now. She wouldn't get up from there. And so Guruji asked her, आपको अमृतवाणी रोज पढ़ते हो? She says no. She says आप गुरुवाणी पढ़ते हो? No. She said आपको ओम्बुरुआ स्वा रोज बोलते हो? She said no. She said फिर गुरु को क्यों आए हो? He said that 85, if you will not have a knee problem, then would you have it at 15 years? So obviously there are problems you're going to have. Have you made any attempt for any solution? Have you done some yoga, some exercises to improve your knee? Have you consulted anybody? Do you pray to God every day? She said no. So that is the signal that Guruji was telling is that don't treat a guru like a magic man. He will come, anybody who comes, he'll put in hand and then you're cured and gone, but you're not interested in connecting with God in any other form, with, whatever way you want, no effort from your side, no exercise for your knee, you want to do nothing, but you want a guru to cure you. You haven't even gone to a doctor till now. So this is the point. Many times Guruji would say some things like this, which were a signal to the whole Sangha to say that, Baba, please, you all have to do something yourself to get connected, with the God Almighty. Now I will tell you the crux of the whole system of, Guruji. After this lady like that, there were many others who came to Guruji and wanted instant cure. And then Guruji explained, which I heard him directly say this, and that's why I want you all to know. Guruji said that, when you have a, say, headache at home, you open your medicine box, you take a Disprin, aspirin, something like that, and your headache goes away. Sometimes you take that medicine, but the headache doesn't go away, so 2-3 days it continues. Thereafter, you call up your personal physician who on phone tells you, okay, you do this, you do that, something the physician tells you. So thereafter, you go and, take that medicine. Then another week goes by, then physician says, no, it's good, let's do some blood tests, some tests and all are done, nothing happens. After that, you still continue to be ill. Then the physician says, no, you go to a specialist. You go to a specialist. You fix an appointment. You pay a heavy fees. You go in the line. Sometimes the due time of the appointment doesn't work. So you wait over there for one hour. And then he asks you, then later on you do an operation. God knows what all you do. 5-6 months, you carry on this, spending money, staying in lines, staying and doing all kinds of invasive tests. He says, when everything fails, that is the time you come to a guru. He says, and when you come to a guru, there is no appointment, there is no fees, there is free pani prasad, langar prasad, chai prasad, free bhajans, everything is on the house. And you have no patience. You want everything instantly. There you waited, you spent money, you waited time, you continue to suffer for six months, and then you come. So this is an important aspect one must understand. And now connect this with that radar story, the faith, the connectivity, and then you know this whole system of how Guruji is. I am a strong believer, I can prove it scientifically to anybody in the whole world in coming years or century will understand the power of a guru. Each one of us is transmitting energy all the time. When you walk on a street, sometimes you see somebody who has not opened his mouth, has just passed by you instantly like the person. And there are some people who pass by you, that poor person has not even said a word, you don't like them. It happens to all of us. So, because everybody in this world, including a dog or a pet or a cat, is transmitting some kind of energy. And all of us are receiving it in positive or a negative form. If we are preparing ourselves with a positive mind to take positive energy, that is the time you will be cured. Same is applied that some of us say, "Mera sir dard sirf disprin se theek hota hai." Actually, the same chemical formula, there are 30 other medicines available in the market. But you have psyched your mind, the faith that disprin only is going to work with you and not aspirin or not something else. So this is the gist of what the Guruji's system is. Last satsang I must mention about my own self. I grew up with blessings of Guruji. Guruji would keep telling me at each rank, oh, now you will be this, now you will be that. And finally I became an Air Marshal in the Air Force. And in 2012 in February, that was my last year of service. I had gone to Gwalior to do some Mirage 2000 flying. I was a pioneer of the Mirage 2000 fleet. And then we took off. It was a two-seater. I was flying with the CO. I was on an inspection visit there. So when we took off in the Mirage 2000, after about 5 minutes of flight at a height of 11,000 feet, there was a huge bang in the, in the engine. The story is in public domain. It is many people have written about this accident that happened. The engine blew up, and then we tried to restart the engine, and then it didn't start because the engine had broken inside. And it was a single engine aircraft, and thereafter we had no choice but to prepare for our ejection. I was 59 years, 2 months old that time. That's a rather ripe age, the only Air Marshal in the world to have ever ejected from a fighter aircraft till date. So two thoughts came in my mind, I must tell you, and it all happens in seconds, when you're in trouble, many things go in your mind at that time. And these two thoughts were, first, of course, was, I told my own self, I said, Chops, this is your test of your years of training and hard work and professionalism. I told my own self. And the second thing that came in my mind, I said, Guruji, it is test of your blessings on your hand that you have put for so many years on my head. And you won't believe it. Neither I nor Guruji let each other down. I ejected and I'm sitting absolutely upright. People who have ejected at ages 40 years and above, many of them have got back and neck injuries, which has made it difficult for them, subsequently in life, medically and career-wise. but Guruji's blessings, his hand was always on my shoulders. I have been, the day I retired from Indian Air Force, Guruji made sure next day I was on a job. Thereafter, the government gave me a senior position of an equivalent of a High Court judge. After that, now they made me another senior position in the government today. So all this has happened, continues to happen, is because of the total connection that I have with Guruji, and Guruji has constantly been blessing me. And I must tell you, each one of you who is connected with Guruji, even today, is being blessed in equal measure or even more, perhaps, provided you have connected wholeheartedly with him. Absolutely, you have your antenna focused to take that energy in whatever form. Each room in my house, we have got Guruji's photo. When I get up, the first thing I get to see is Guruji's picture, just next to our bed. We listen to Guruji's bhajans. They're all available on YouTube. You have got hundreds of ways to be connected with Guruji. All of us who have been with Guruji, we all know that often there used to be a very special fragrance of Guruji, which was a rose petal fragrance. It was peculiar. Those of you who have ever felt it, I'm sure most of you would have. It was so pleasing kind of fragrance. And even today, sometimes, not very often, we get that whiff of fragrance, and we again reminded of Guruji. Each one of you who is connected is absolutely blessed. I am blessed. My family is blessed. We all are blessed. And all I want to tell you is that be connected. And let's keep sharing our satsangs. Let's keep being in connect. I'm so happy that practically every country in the world there is satsang going on, and there are sangat in every country of the world. I have done satsang with many groups around the world, and I once again want to thank you all with folded hands for blessing me by directing me to come and speak and fulfill the orders of Guruji, who had said that I must keep narrating this satsang again and again. Jai Guruji, Jai Guruji.